Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
Hello, Bat family, and welcome to this episode of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is the sponsor and a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all of the shows over at batmanpodcastnetwork.com and follow us on Twitter at BatPodNetwork. I'm Garret Grev. Thank you for listening. Well, we haven't had a regular episode of the Batman on Film podcast for some time. Now, if you subscribe to the feed, you'll get Bill's audio version of his social hour. You can check those out over at YouTube. And he a lot of times is able to cover some of, the more late breaking news or kind of top of the head subject matter that maybe you want in real time. And I'll be honest, I've just been really super busy. I've been missing you guys. Obviously, you don't talk back when I'm talking to the microphone with buddies that join me on the show. But I get emails and I get text messages every once in a while and in tweets. And I think that's super fun. I like providing content. So kind of coming back here for the summer months and planning out a series of topics related to things going on in the DC film universe. Obviously, the Batman is coming. Hashtag the Batman is coming. As well as, a lot of development. Man, there's so much things moving in the world of DC films and sort of comic books and stuff, you'd come to listen to us talk about here. And like I said, you guys don't talk back to me when we're on the podcast. So I have to find some people that do talk back to me because that's fun. They sometimes get a little bit mouthy. We text message each other all day, every day, and there's jokes flying left and right. And this is kind of your little chance to get a sneak peek on that. So I'm going to bring in a couple of my pals, and I'm going to start with a BOF senior contributor. He has been called the Wizard of Whacker Drive. I like to call him the librarian of the Batman Book Club, but he is by far and away the number one apostle of the Long Halloween. You know who I'm talking about. It's Mr. Ryan Lauer. Ryan, what's up, my man? The horns.
All names acceptable, and I didn't know where you were going to go with all that, and then to end it with the apostle of the Long Halloween, Garret Grev, you magnificent bastard. Thank you so much. Happy to be here back on the BOF podcast. Woo-hoo! Boo-boo!
Yeah, man. Always a blast.
Yes.
Always a pleasure to have a dear Ryan on the show with me. What is better than one dear Ryan?
I know.
Well, maybe it could be the Mario Brother Maestro. Maybe it is, just like the guy that bakes up the most delicious baked goods and somehow still keeps getting fitter and fitter every time I get a chance to see the progress. And maybe, it's just a little guy that I like to call the sheriff. You know who I'm talking about. It's Ryan Haas. Welcome to the show, Ryan. Pew, 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 pew. Hello. The Six Shooters. It is, I should say this, we are recording the show on the 2nd of June. It is 11 or the 3rd. Yeah, of the 3rd of June if you are these buddies of mine over on East Coast time. It's the 2nd of June in the Midwest in Central Standard Time. So you know that. Sorry, no, I'm wrong on both. Anyway,
gotta be the 4th. It's the 3rd.
It's almost the 4th and the 3rd. As you might be able to tell by my confusion, it's late at night, and I was going to say the sheriff's 6-shooter sounded a little sleepy there with the pew, pew.
He's on it though. He's on it, correcting
He is
me with
on
your
it.
time and date and everything.
Man, little bit. It's shaking the rust off here, boys. Back in the back cave.
It's gonna be a rough one, boys.
Yeah.
Let's get it
Strap
on.
in.
I'm excited about this one. You know, there's been a lot of goings on in the film world since we last had a show. We're not going to do a rewind and recap. We got a lot of buddies with a lot of different shows. You know, those East Coast dudes, Peter and Eric, cover
Aquaman.
a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Yep, on their show. Lauer's got comic book stuff you can hear. Bill's got the social hour. And I don't want to retread just a bunch of news that maybe happened a month ago, the last time we put out a new episode. But one thing that has been moving along, and we've been getting teases of it, you likely saw different pictures on Instagram of the Bruce Wayne chairs for the Flash movie, is the Flashpoint. Flashpoint movie is moving along in a very big way. So we said, you know what would be fun? Let's go back and revisit that animated version of Flashpoint that came out. Gosh, can you believe it, guys? Almost 10 years ago.
I was like, when did this come out? And I was like, why don't I have a digital copy of this? And I picked up my Blu-ray, and it was like Blu-ray and DVD and ultraviolet. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this movie's old. And this was like right before the new 52 animated films. And I was like, man,
The ultraviolet days.
Yeah,
it is something else. Not movies anywhere. Ultraviolet, like that is something
movies
else.
nowhere. Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. But we said, hey, let's revisit that one because it should be fun to talk about. We did something very similar with Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay, thinking about the new upcoming Suicide Squad movie. So we said, let's do this with Flash. Who doesn't love Flash? I love Flash. I love Batman. I don't always love Thomas Wayne Batman as much as some people do, but it's fun to talk about. That's quality Batman content for the show. So we're going to do that. Before we get into it, we will touch on just a little bit of news. Our dear friend Ryan Haas has got it's been a big week, not necessarily in the Bat side of his fandom, but the other thing a lot of people know him for. So we'll let him share some stuff on that. And guys, how would we have a Batman on Film podcast at this point? Like, what would the point be if we didn't play a thrilling edition of the #1 Batman trivia game, sweeping the nation? Where are you? All right. So with that, fellas, let's get into the news.
3, 2, 1.
Cue music. Cue Becky.
Good evening.
Ryan. Ryan Lauer, Mr. Lauer.
Oh, okay, there we
go. I would love for you to share some tidbits on this one. You've got a podcast. I've mentioned it. I've been on there, maybe many times. And a couple of those times we've been talking about Batman,
Yeah.
Earth 1, volumes 1 and 2. But guess what? Big news. Volume 3 is out there now.
Oh my gosh.
How psyched are you for this one? Or on its way? It is nearly out there. It's soon to be upon us. You likely have purchased a pre-order at this some point, and in the very near future, you'll have it in your hot little bat hands. What are you thinking, Lauer? How pumped are you for this? Because the big news is this is the finale of the Batman Earth 1 storytelling. Yes.
When did that come out? Who said this?
Ryan Lauer, tell us all about it.
Well, on my show, the Batman Book Club, the last episode I did is Batman in May with our friend Peter R. Vera, Jersey's finest. And we discussed it in one of the comics. I believe it was Legends of the Dark Knight, #1. They had a full page ad for volume 3, and it said the conclusion or like the final, they used the words that said, "Hey, fools, this is it." Damn. So
what marketing 1 week before it comes out?
Sadly, it's ending because this could have. I was expecting this could have been like a five-parter or something. I still feel like we're gonna get into book number 3, and it's like, okay, now we're starting to maybe approach a midway point. Like,
maybe this book will pick up like 7 years later and
8 years later,
or 8. Yeah, man,
Batman wasn't.
I'll probably love it the best of all 3 of them, or something.
Right. I can't wait. I'm excited for it for sure. The way that I love the first 2 volumes, and the way that volume 2 ended, and what they kind of hinted towards in this one, it's pretty exciting stuff. So I will be there at the comic shop when they open at 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, June 8th, and I will get it, and I will come back, and I won't be surprised. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get it that day. Damn it.
Yeah, I was thinking about what I'm doing on Tuesday too.
I just realized.
Wow. Laura and I were talking about this before.
This is rough.
I don't have the local comic shop that I used to be able to get to in, say, 10 minutes closed, and the next closest one around the Twin Cities area is about 25 minutes away. But I'm going to be making that jaunt. Normally, I'd be an Amazon guy and get it later and save a few bucks. This is one I'd like to get right away, especially with this conclusion. So for like whatever kind of goofy marketing, for me, it works just as well, because like, oh my gosh, if you're really going to tie up this universe and this volume, I need to see that right away. I'm not thrilled about it. I would have liked it to be a kind of 5-6 volume deal, which would have been very atypical for these Earth 1 stories. But, whatever. If we see this Batman kind of get right up next to being prime Batman, Batman in his prime, and then I get to imagine that for the rest of my life, well, there's worse things. It's been good storytelling. I've enjoyed rereading Batman Earth 1 every time I've reread it. And I liked Batman Earth 1 Volume 2 straight out of the gates. And that one's gotten better for me every time too. So, yeah. Here's what I'm
wondering at this point. Yeah, here's what I'm wondering at this point is, have any of the other Earth 1 books had more than 3 entries? And I can't think of any of them that have. A lot of them have had 3. But, I think Green Lantern is one of the newer ones. It just had its second one that came out.
And did Teen Titans, is Teen Titans at 2? Did they
have
get a
one
second
or
one?
2? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they got a third one,
but exactly.
Superman and Wonder Woman got their 3.
Yep. But I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Maybe that's their limit. It's all part of the plan.
Well, it's on its way very, very soon. Within a matter of days, by the time that you're listening to this, go out and get it. We'll talk about it. It'll be great. We'll probably talk about it on Lauer's show. We'll probably talk about it on this show. We'll talk about it a bunch.
Hopefully it's good. Because the last thing
I really
that Jeff Johns wrote was a dang, home run. Right? So
no kidding. Instant classic.
Yeah.
An instant classic for me, guys. I love it. I've said this before. I don't know if from a qualitative standpoint, I could say it is the very, very best movie of the DCEU, but it is certainly my favorite, and it's the most rewatchable movie of the DCEU for me, and that was Shazam, starring Zachary Levi. And just this very day, whatever the date is, I don't know, June 3rd, nearly the 4th, there were some hints, some illicit pictures. We don't talk about illicit pictures here at BOF because we're cool like that. But director David Sandberg did release a video that is, sanctioned and cool of Zachary Levi in the Shazam Captain Marvel. Man, I still don't like saying Shazam. The Captain Marvel Shazam outfit for the sequel. Haas, did you get a chance to see this video or any of the pictures?
I did. The set photos, as you would expect, if you're on social media at all, were pretty unavoidable. If you're looking
everywhere,
even if you weren't looking for them, you still saw them, kind of deal. So I was like, okay, whatever, of course. But then wasn't trying to draw much attention to it, but it looks cool. I mean, the cool outfit, of course. Like when there's a sequel, they kind of learn some things from the first movie and make some upgrades, and it looked pretty good. So, but then what's always not great about that is that, the illicit set photos get to be the thing that that kind of jumps out and
the nerd rage
well, not that, it's just kind of takes the spotlight away from the filmmakers actually making their dang movie. So cool. It was cool to see later today, in the same day, director David Sandberg actually tweeting something out that was like a legit piece of film footage that was funny and had the tone and all the stuff. And it's just a little pan up shot of Shazam with the new outfit, kind of like Batman Forever-esque, like showing different parts of the suit, but it's all in darkness.
Those buns.
Yeah, and then at the top, and then when you get to Shazam, he's like, it's like a little dark, shouldn't you turn some lights on? But it was almost like a play on the fact that like all the illicit set shots were
Yeah.
all super bright and you could see everything, and then this little tease you couldn't see anything. So they're already having fun with it themselves, and I think that is like what he has done as a director with Shazam, like
Dude.
on and off screen the whole time. So I think we're in for a super treat as they keep filming this thing.
Yeah, it was really on brand, and you're right. It is like it is a bummer for these directors not to get a chance to show off their work in a way they want to. Like, that's always kind of lame. For me, it's always just like, man, social media does what social media does, and people start losing their mind over things like, oh, what is that emblem? The emblem doesn't look as good in the illicit pictures. Like, well, yeah, bro, like, it's not finished. There's no special effects. It's not lit. Yeah. Like, what are you looking for? And that's why I think for me, it's never like this moral, although it's a bit of that. Like, it's just not very classy to do this to these filmmakers. But like, I like that we don't talk about that stuff at BOF because it just doesn't give you the best representation of what you're going to get. So why waste time on it? Why do you get super angry or super pumped or whatever else, for this stuff?
Either way,
unfinished? It just doesn't make sense. I wanted to, this next topic, guess who I'm going to ask about? There's an animated movie coming out this year. Oh boy. It's going to be a big one. There's, I think,
a big two.
Big two. Yeah, big two. Very good point. Good correction. All of us in our, Bat family and Bat Bros are pretty excited, and a lot of people will be, because an animated version of a classic, seminal, just pure Batman masterpiece is coming out, and that is Batman Digital. It's on its way.
Digital Justice.
Digital
baby.
Justice.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
It is Ryan Lauer's favorite Batman story of all time, and a number of other people's favorite Batman story of all time, The Long Halloween. And man, we have been just getting a ton of promo content for this movie. Clips. Lauer, you probably are plugged in. You're on the inside on this. Is it every day we get a new promo clip for The Long Halloween? What are we looking at here?
The most recent was 4 screenshots, which were awesome. One of them was an exterior shot of Wayne Manor at Halloween. So you've got pumpkins sitting outside, and that is just a perfect wallpaper for your computer. Perfect. And it kind of looks like the mansion from the Scooby-Doo, the opening Scooby-Doo credits. Hoss, you know what I'm talking about.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, you guys have been the Scoob fans of the group, and we always get into that, not to change subjects. I've been meaning to tell you guys, my boys have gone so head over heels, like off the high dive into the deep end on Scooby-Doo that
man.
I've feel
seen
like
so much Scooby-Doo lately.
I feel like I'm right up next to you. All right, sorry. Anyway, Ryan, yes, I also thought it looked like a little bit of Scooby-Doo in that promo shot. So please carry on.
So today, what was released were these 4 screenshots, and the producer Butch Lukic, he'd said, he was quoted as saying, "I wanted to give the film a timeless look, kind of like the book, where you can't pinpoint the actual time period." And he cited 1940s crime films and The Godfather as further inspiration for the film's stylish, nuanced art direction. That was tweeted out by Watchtower Database on Twitter. And the writer of the movie, Tim Sheridan, he retweeted that, and he'd said that early on, Lukic and he discussed Gotham City as a character, and how they talked about like cinematic scale and how animation affords the opportunity to like build big, imposing sets that would tell the story of Gotham. Like, nailed it.
Great. I love all of that.
I love especially the Catwoman shot of like her in front of one of the lights. Like, it totally looks
like the shadow.
It looks like one of the title cards from like the animated series, like that's instantly what I thought. And I'm like, man, I just can't, like, I'm not shitting you guys. I don't know. I said to you guys, I haven't been excited like for a Batman animated movie like this in so long. And it may even be like Dark Knight Rises levels anticipation for this, which I'm not trying to be hyperbole.
It's hot.
I'm
It's
really
hot.
not. I'm not trying to reach that level. I was very excited for Lego Batman movie. I was really excited for Batman vs Superman. I was excited for this stuff, but I can't wait for the long Halloween.
And what is
I'm
kind of cool about it,
certainly-
you get to wait like it's 2 movies, so you get anticipation like
Double
twice
dip on the anticipation.
within a month. Yeah,
I'm just like a little over 2 weeks, and then I have 4 weeks to watch the hell out of it, and then I'm gonna get more. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, oh my
Are you guys? Hey, Lauer. Side question here: Are you gonna break from just covering Batman books because this is so near and dear to your heart? Will you cover an animated movie on the Batman Book Club for this? Like tonight, you're gonna break your one rule.
I am not going to break my rule.
Yeah, I love
is-
it.
we
I
can
love
always
not-
cover it on this show. I mean,
Yeah, I
It
was
is
gonna say
not
we'll
the
just
why
talk
this
about
show
it here.
exists.
It's not the Batman Book Club plus a movie if I want to. It is the Batman Book Club. And for
Maybe-
possibly anybody who's listening who doesn't know, The Long Halloween is my favorite Batman story.
Everybody that listens
any
to
medium.
the show knows you've
Yes.
been on it enough.
I love Dew. I love Mountain Dew. I love cereal. And I love
Breakfast
Batman The
cereal.
Long Halloween. Like
Yeah.
they're all right up there. Sometimes for
And
breakfast,
redheads.
I have Mountain Dew cereal. Oh, yeah, my Mira.
She's
She's right up there too. I mean, come on. I thought that was without saying, right?
Yeah. She doesn't listen to the show. We're good.
She knows. She knows what's up. But man, I'm not trying to blow anything out of proportion here. Like I cannot freaking wait for this. And the more that I see, like the more I'm like excited for. And these are just stills, but the stills were just like, I really like this
Yeah.
look. You know, and
Yeah.
of course, Batman and holidays just go together perfectly. And having those pumpkins outside of Wayne Manor, I mean, that's Batman Forever.
That
Like the
really
ooh,
does. It does.
trick-or-treating, you know.
Yep.
And I can't wait. This stuff's gonna be great.
I am easily more excited for this than Lego Batman. When Lego Batman was coming out, I'm like, oh, this is a cute thing they're doing.
Yeah, I was excited for it. I'm like,
I'll
more
see
Batman.
that
This
at
looks
some
fun.
point. It's Batman. I'm a Batman fan. This, I'm like, I will spend money immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like you will not have to wait to get the Grev family dollars. And you don't have to wait that much longer to watch this because June 22nd is the release of both the physical and digital for The Long Halloween Part 1. And just over a month later, July 27th for Part 2, if you can't wait for the physical, you can get digital on that day. And then, 2 weeks after that or so, on August 10th, the physical copy of Part 2 will be released. Haas, I think you said you saw they had confirmed that 2022 would be the combo, kind of like they did with Death and Return of Superman.
Not only
type
the
deal.
combo, not only the combo, but when they're going to do the 4K, like they're going to not have a physical 4K release for parts 1 and 2, and then they're going to wait for the 4K until the combined thing. But I don't know if digital 4K will exist for these, but that's my plan. Since I'm just gonna wait for my physical copy and get the combined one, and so I will buy digital.
Oh, okay. I thought like,
Either way.
Are you
No, I'm
gonna
not
wait
waiting to
until
watch
next
it.
year? Okay,
I'll just
thank
get
goodness.
my physical copy will be 4K, and then I'll get digital of 1
Yeah.
and 2.
Digital.
So if you
if
If you end up with 1080p for 1 and 2 separate, I mean, that's fine. You get the 4K on the double up.
there you go.
Less than ideal. It's smart though, because they know geeks like us, we're gonna pay up twice.
I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not buying 3 physical copies, but I'll buy 2 digital.
I've got the
physical.
Steelbook pre-ordered, and sometimes it's from Best Buy. Sometimes Best Buy sends their stuff out early, so it ends up arriving like 2 or 3 days early. Sometimes though, it's also late. So if I don't receive it and it's midnight on the 22nd, I'm gonna be buying it digitally because I'm not waiting for that package.
No, sir.
That package to come. And can you guys imagine maybe on Earth, I don't know, Earth 19, where everything went according to plan, that the month of June in 2021 would have been a total Batman month. Because Volume 3 of Earth 1 Volume 3 would have come out, then Long Halloween would have come out, and then the Batman would have come out that same week.
Oh my gosh.
That, I mean, who knows if the release schedules of all this, but I mean, just thinking about it, the original.
It's your multiverse. You can make it. You can make whatever you want, Lauer.
Yeah. Ryan Lauer is just
Yeah.
pissing his pants from excitement.
Yeah.
For this
all
month,
June
you
long.
know?
The guy is
All
he's so
June.
dehydrated.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're excited. We're excited. But there's somebody here that probably has to also be very excited. In Lauer, while you have not you don't have the patience to wait for this movie that you want to see, there's a guy on this podcast that has been very patient to get a spectacular release of a movie that he loves put together. Now, you may have thought in 2021, the biggest story about getting after a quote unquote long wait for a version of a movie more closely aligned to a director's vision following the studio making cuts to it would have already happened in March. But no, my good listeners, my dear listeners, here we are in June, and there is something that's been building not for 4 years, but for like
28.
Keep me honest, 2 decades.
28 years.
Almost 3 decades.
Oh my gosh.
It is Super Mario Brothers, the movie. And if you know Ryan Haas, you know he is SMB_Ryan. And dude, this is huge. Like,
yeah,
I've seen this thing picked up and run everywhere. Obviously, we're here to talk about Batman, but I could not let this go by without you telling the Bat listeners about what's up with Mario Brothers. So give them the rundown quickly.
Yeah, like I cannot believe the traction this thing got all across.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's so nuts. So yeah, like I usually mention on the shows I'm on is that I run the Super Mario Brothers the Movie Archive website, which has been around since 2007. After I was involved with BOF, but that has always been a passion of mine. I just love that movie. I've always loved that movie, and I started that website to archive everything related to it because I thought it was underappreciated and needed more recognition and stuff. And over the years, I just found out more and more information and more, interviewed people from involved in the film and everything, and eventually found out that, the movie that we got was only a fraction of what was in the director's original intention. It's kind of like, the another early blueprint of a Snyder cut, if you will, where the directors filmed most of the movie and then they were fired from the movie before the movie was finished. The remaining producers and crew banded together to finish filming the movie, and they had to come up with stuff on the fly and finish it. And then they were locked out of the editing room and didn't get to make their own edit of the film and then they got to come back a little bit later, but didn't really get to do everything they wanted. So the movie that came out was pretty compromised, although I still love it for a lot of reasons. But it always in the back of your head is like, dang, what if, you have the biggest what if question of like, what would that could have been? And over the years we've gotten, personal testimonies and images and all the scripts. And so we knew what things kind of were filmed and what it could have been, but that's not a really real replacement of like what the actual cut would have been. As people that are fans of Zack Snyder's Justice League can attest, you can only see so many little sketch drawings of Zack Snyder would post on Vero compared to like what compared to like getting the actual
breadcrumbs.
Yeah, compared to getting the actual film. So gosh, when was it? So a couple of years ago, I guess it was May 2019. We found this holy grail. Like we acquired a VHS tape, a mysterious VHS tape that had a
left in a bathroom.
No,
flash drive.
The only thing that we have figured out is that it's probably came from some sort of liquidation or estate sale from one of the producers' production companies that ended up getting it. Like it's like Jumanji, right? Where like you see like the
what a wild story, yeah,
or The Mask. It like goes down the river and you don't know who's going to get into it. So like this VHS tape that had an early work print version of the film made its way to some box on some Hollywood collector, and they just kind of threw it up on eBay. Like, I don't know what this is. Like, it says there was like a hastily written label on it, Super Mario Brothers December cut footage, and we're like, what? And what?
We are the prime audience
And
for
so-
this. No one will
yeah,
appreciate
so-
this like we will.
Sell
So
everything
we were-
you own. We need this.
Yeah, so they didn't really know what they had, and like we were trying to get it, and somebody else got it, and we were like, oh my god, the biggest thing ever like escaped from us. But it turned out that the guy that bought it because he was fans of our website, and we're like,
Nice.
here, I wanted to make sure you guys got this. We were like, oh my god. so we got
rad.
it. So we got it, and we didn't know what was on it other than like cut footage. We're like, well, what's the best case scenario? Well, is it just like a big reel of all the deleted scenes? Wouldn't that be amazing? And so we got the thing digitized as good as we could, and it was like, nope, this isn't just cut footage; it's the entire film as it existed in December of 1992.
Wow.
And the film came out in May 1993. So it was quite an earlier version of the movie with a temp score, temp or no VFX in some spots, and it was like 20 minutes longer, and it had like all the deleted, not all, but a good chunk of like, is probably a good like 2/3 of the way through. Like, okay, there's probably another version of the film that's got even earlier stuff, but like this one was like
this because you found the old script. So when you're watching this
Yeah.
one, you're like, hey, almost everything.
Where's
in these older
this scene?
scripts
Where's
is
that
here.
scene? Yeah, like
There's a
we had
couple
hit
things
list.
missing, but like
Yeah.
you've got this is like
more
than you ever could have expected.
More than like we would have never in a million years have thought like we'll see this version of the film unless like somebody in the vault at Disney is like, okay, yeah, we've got the cut or whatever, but like just this landing in our lap was just ridiculous and like shit, what the heck. So we got it digitized, and over the last couple of years we've been like kind of getting it restored, but also doing little video features of select deleted scenes to kind of show like, okay, here's the deleted scene, and here's the context, and here's how it could have like went into the film. But now this 28th anniversary, and we got the film kind of restored enough, we just kind of threw it up on the Internet Archive to show people. Like there's still a lot of work to be done on it. It's not like it's like a video of a screen of a work in progress version of the film. So it's like VHS quality deleted stuff, but we've had it restored. Like we've even got like a restoration commentary on our YouTube page where you can see like the ridiculous amount of work that had to go into like bringing the image quality back and splicing it in with like good DVD and Blu-ray footage and stuff like that. So the version that we have is very watchable, and it's like probably as good as you could get from the kind of source that we had. It's just insane that it exists, and we've got it up online, so you can go to SMB.
I was just going to ask. Yeah, let everybody know where to go.
Yeah, just go to smbmovie.com, and our latest post has all the information about the cut, and it's got an embed of the cut. You can just watch it right there, and even if you get on your phone, you can like cast it to your TV like right away. It's like super easy. It's super good. And I've got all the footage and coverage from all the places that decided
dude,
to
this is
pick
blown
it
up. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, one of my best friends is basically famous now. Like it's insane,
It was like
IGN.
GameSpot and IGN, Kotaku, and Collider. Like it's on everything.
I saw it on Yahoo, on the front page of Yahoo. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And they picked it up. I think it was from IGN, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's friggin' Yahoo. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and like over the years, I'm trying to like we don't make any money from the website or like try to do anything like because we don't ever want to get like a cease and desist or shut down. But like really, I'm like, okay, if this is ever gonna happen, this is the time it's
Do
gonna
it now.
happen.
Blow
But
it
like,
now.
but nobody seems to care about the movie, and nobody seems to know who owns what or who really has the rights to things.
Great.
So far, nobody's really gave a damn, which is great.
Well, Haas,
So-
I wish you all the success in the world from it. If you somehow make an insane amount of money, remember there are 4 Grev boys back at the ranch, and these kids got to go to college somehow. And I'm gonna watch it myself. Congratulations. I think the parallels to the Snyder Cut make it more than suitable enough, even if we just didn't, love you
Yeah.
and, support the work you do.
I mean, it's
of
crazy.
a topic for the Batman podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy and cyclical. Friend of the show, friend of BOF, Zaki Hassan, like he's gonna do a review of that cut for IGN.
Nice.
He was like, he was telling me about it earlier. I was like, this is so bizarre how like this stuff just intertwines and everything. So that'll be super interesting.
We just need
to see.
John Leguizamo to retweet this.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate dream right there.
Yeah,
for real.
I was his
Luigi
profile
Mario.
Picture. I was his profile picture for a week once.
No way, really?
Yeah, because he had this thing for a few months. It was like, if any fans have pictures of me and Nim, like send them to me, and maybe I'll make it my profile picture. And I've met him once, and so like he
nice.
The one time we got to meet each other, he made that his profile picture on Twitter.
Well done.
It was great.
Well, Ryan Haas, I don't know what you are. You're some sort of mad genius when it comes to Super Mario Brothers.
I don't know what you are.
And I feel like as long as we're asking, what are you? Let's get into the game.
What are you?
I'd like you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
All right, boys.
I hate these. I think I know them, and then I don't know it.
Here's the deal. It's important that we come off as people who know their stuff. Otherwise, why the heck would the dear listeners tune in to hear us talk about Batman? So I said, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's get into a category that we haven't covered before. Let's talk about a piece of Bat equipment and change things up. And if these guys can hit this one, they are really going to be some learned gentlemen that everyone can trust.
Damn it.
And of course, listeners, it's been a month. I know you haven't forgotten. It's so popular. How could anyone forget the rules here? But I'm going to give these two gentlemen, the two Ryans, 3 clues. These first 3 clues are just your average, ordinary, run-of-the-mill level difficulty clue questions.
That's what they all say.
The fourth question, the fourth clue, that's a giveaway. So really what we're talking about here is a race between the two Ryans to who can raise their little bat paw up first, and we're on the honor system here, to tell me, hey, I know this one just based off of clue 1 or clue 1 and 2. If you don't, that's cool. You can go all the way through clue 4. It's a matter of pride. Do you want to be Batman? Do you want to be Robin? We're going to find out as we talk about Bat equipment. You ready, guys?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I'll ever be.
So get ready. Clue number 1.
Okay.
This piece of Bat equipment first appeared in Detective Comics number 31, September of 1939. What are you? No hands are up to this point, listeners. We will move to clue number 2. This piece of Batman equipment appears in every live action interpretation of Batman on film, just like the website. See how I tied that together? No hands. We are moving on to clue number 3. This piece of Batman equipment appears in every Batman Arkham video game, but is only actively used in Batman Arkham Origins. Either of the Ryans. No hands up to this point. Oh, Ryan Haas he's gotten tingles, but we're going to go on to the fourth one. Tingles won't get you the win here. This piece of Batman equipment in its earliest iteration featured a machine gun on the vehicle, similar to its depiction in the Batman 1989 movie. I'm watching. I am waiting. I've got a nod from Ryan Haas. Ryan Lauer, do you have your answer?
I do.
All right. Ryan Haas, you indicated that you had your answer first. What is this piece of Batman equipment?
Me, Ryan Haas, it would have to be the Bat plane, the Bat wing, the Bat flying vehicle.
Ding, ding, ding.
Now,
Wing battle flies in the night and finds me ready.
Okay.
Waiting. That's what it is. And
whatever that line is.
Fun note, though, is also in Detective Comics number 31 was the debut of the Batarang.
Yes, it was.
And
it was.
That's why you had me there for a second.
That's why it was the first clue and not further down the line.
A younger
Yeah.
Ryan Lauer would have fallen into that trap, but I have
for sure.
wised up at this game of what are
Quick
you?
trigger, hand goes up. I know it. No, you don't, sir. No, you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
you're
that-
like, Arkham games. I was like, well, of course it's the Batarang. You're like, but only active in Arkham Origins. I'm like, okay, so it's the Batwing.
Yeah, and by active, I mean it's a button you hit to a cutscene of traveling.
You utilize
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you utilize it. It's not the Batmobile. Arkham Knight, they called it the Batmobile, right? They didn't have a
Yeah.
special code word for it.
No.
Yeah.
No,
It was
it's
Tumblr-esque, but it was
Yeah.
not. Well, Ryan Haas, you are Batman because you rose your hand first. Flower, get your elf booties out. Let's see them thighs because you are Robin.
Free room and
Congratulations,
board.
sir.
Free room and board, man. I'm good with
Hey,
that. That's fine.
You're eating good. You're
I
eating
am.
good at the manor.
I'm in
All right,
great
guys. Thank you for playing America's favorite Bat trivia game. What are you? And let's get into our topic of the week. Justice League, Flashpoint Paradox.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the new management of the Circus International invites you to forget this good, clean, wholesome, all-American fun and join us in a celebration of absolute chaos and true justice.
Well, Justice League, let me say it correctly. Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox, is a 2013, where did the years go, by the way, 2013, once again, 8 years ago, this is nuts, direct-to-video animated film adaptation of the 2011, 10 years ago, comic book crossover Flashpoint. That, of course, was by legendary, visionary comic book author Jeff Johns and a very, very talented artist, and Andy Kubert. It was scripted by Jim Krieg and directed by Jay Oliva. And
Friend of the show.
By friend of the show, Jay Oliva. And produced by James Tucker. And there's a lot of talent on this direct-to-DVD, direct-to-video, whatever they used to call it. Remember they used to call it direct-to-DVD? And then that stuck around for a while.
Yeah.
You're like, no one's buying this on DVD, man. Why do you still advertise it that way? But there's a lot of talent. You know, you look at the names involved. A lot of them obviously came from, a work that was inspired by a legendary comic book story. We're going to stick to the animated movie, by the way, listeners, in case you were wondering. But then, Jay Oliva has done a ton of stuff within this animated series of movies from Warner Brothers. James Tucker's produced all over the place. Jim Krieg's a heck of an animated director.
Andrea Romano did was it her last movie?
I was trying to find it if it was. I thought she had made something more recently than that, but I couldn't.
Might have.
I think she had, but I couldn't find out what it was. You guys, if you know, hit me up on Twitter and say, no, dum-dum, obviously she did this. Or someone's going to find it by the end of this recording, and we'll tag it on the back end. But guys, I wanted to ask you, and I'll start with you, Haas. Do you remember your first viewing of Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox?
Yes, I remember it quite well. I just remember getting it and watching it, enjoying it. I think I might have watched it twice when it came out and haven't really watched it since. I had read maybe half of the comic story. I know people are going to come after me because I haven't actually read the complete Flashpoint. You know
what you say, Haas? You say that you've been boycotting it since 2011. You wouldn't finish in its entirety because it felt snakish to you. And then you get a lot of internet cred.
Nah, I can't do it.
God
the real worst story is that like I was reading it and then my comic shop didn't get they sold out of issue 3 and they never got it back. And so I never finished it because I never got I only got halfway through. But then I have since then got it. And of course I've got DC Universe Infinite, but just have not gone back to read it. But of course I know everything that happens in it and all that. But yeah, I remember watching it and liking it more than most of the directed to video stuff at the time. Of course, the Jay Oliva, a friend of the show, Jay Oliva's other movie, the Dark Knight Returns, is my parts 1 and 2 is my absolute favorite films of the whole thing.
Masterful, really.
Yeah, I mean they're so good. But this one's really good, and I like a lot of the things about it. Some of the things don't really hold up, and I'm maybe that's just because it's part of the, I don't know, it's personal preference stuff. We can get more into it, but yeah, I remember enjoying the performances and enjoying some of the main characters in it, and getting to actually see pretty quickly after it being a comic story, get something like this adapted on into
Oh, man.
animation so fast. I
couple
think was
years,
what was
right?
what was cool, because normally you just see like an older story adapted, or just something that original, but seeing something so Flashpoint, I think my big takeaway is that like Flashpoint is kind of the one of the first big modern instances of the whole alternate versions of characters getting popular again. Because ever since then we've gotten, you know, Flashpoint, and then we have Flashpoint Batman, and then we have things like Dark Knight's Metal, and like the Batman Who Laughs, and all those alternate versions of Batman and things like that, and the Injustice things that are happening after that, which I think is getting its own animated movie too.
That
like
Sure, long Halloween.
like people, and of course, you know, who could forget all the crazy Zack Snyder nightmare versions of all these characters. Like, so I don't know, it just seems like alternate, and of course we're getting elements of this in the Flash movie as well. So I think it kind of started and popularized a lot of the alternate multiverse kind of stuff for this modern DC age, which is appropriate because the Flash kind of started the multiverse way back in the day.
Yeah, simply by being the Flash and saying, hey, we got to bring back this character.
The other Flash. Yeah, the old Flash.
Right. And that makes a big deal. Guys, I just got a message in from our very own Oracle. Ryan Lauer has been doing some research and tells us that, Ryan, we may have not been giving Mrs. Andrea Romano enough credit around her voice casting duties. You have an update for us?
This is where you insert like the what do you want to call it? Like the notifying alarm in the Batman animated series,
right?
Where it's like,
yeah, that's pretty
Hear
good.
that Andrea Romano.
Wave. She did a lot of stuff after that. You idiot. Yeah.
She also did, following Flashpoint, in the DC animated universe of Justice League War, Throne of Atlantis, and Justice League Gods and Monsters. As for Batman stuff, she did Son of Batman, Batman vs. Robin, and the short-lived, canceled too soon series, Beware the Batman.
Sure. So underrated.
And as a fun little nugget, she did voice operations for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon from 2012 to 2017, which is fantastic. But anyways,
that's
talk
to me about that one a bunch. All right. Well, thank you very much, Oracle. You sound so manly. Very, very, like
redheads,
a
gotta love them.
Like a hardy Midwesterner. Yeah. Back to it. Lauer, since you're talking, keep talking, my man.
Sure. Love to.
Had you first of all read Flashpoint prior to watching this, and then like when did you dive in? Was this a right away purchase and view for you, or did you see it later?
This was I read the main 5-issue story when it came out.
Ooh.
I was reading each issue when it came out, and then I also read the Batman 3-part miniseries that this was based on when that came out too. And that was my original Flashpoint readings. And so then when the movie, I was really pretty much when a DC animated movie came out, I saw it right away through a variety of ways. But
oh boy.
Yeah, this was a day one. I think I flat out just bought it because to me, it just seemed like Batman was kind of a main character, even though it's kind of a Flashpoint movie. It says Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox, but it was
and it's Kevin Conroy Batman. Yeah,
it sure is.
It was a Flash and Batman movie, so I'm like, I'm buying it because it's Batman. And so day one, I bought and watched, and I think it is definitely amongst some of the best. I think of these DC animated movies. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it is. I haven't read the entire Flashpoint saga in the comics. I don't know. Some of it I just didn't feel too interested on. I felt the main 5-issue story was really like kind of just teasing how there's all these other things. It was just a small part of the whole story. And I got a little tired with that. And I thought that the movie was better than that 5-issue main story.
Yeah. I think it was obviously and we don't need to dwell on the comic book stuff for too long. And the movie kind of,
Yeah.
The movie is a bit of its own thing. There are some ways that it, diverges from the comic source material, but it's what it does. It kind of fulfills a very similar mechanism for what was going on in the animated movies to introduce a new continuity of connected storytelling in these animated movies that hadn't existed prior to that. I really, really enjoyed New Frontier when that animated movie came out. And I enjoyed a lot of these, but I thought when I first I saw this one pretty, within a week of it was released, maybe a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, like the talent, like the craft here has made a leap. And I thought to me, that was a combination of, just simply the content that it was based on being really well received and of a high quality. But, the cast on this is pretty ridiculous. And I thought execution was high. I'll be honest, it's not my favorite animation style from a character design standpoint with some of these, with some of the characters here, but it does sort of blend in. Some of the things, unfortunately, if you've listened to me on this show and others, I can sometimes give the New 52 inspired continuity of the DC animated movies a hard time. The newish 52ish, they've all got kind of the goofy hairlines and similarly angled facial features.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that in this movie, plus just like some ridiculous bulk. Have you ever seen a more ridiculously enormous Aquaman than exists
Aquaman and Cyborg are just like, there's one shot where Cyborg is like
eight
feet times taller than like the Flash. I'm like, what is happening?
His traps are bigger than a normal man's torso.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
It's
but you know what? It's very nice. Very nice. I caught that one, you old sneaky
this guy.
But like, I just thought this is really well done. I thought the voice cast was great. There's some big names here. I don't know if you know this, but Michael B. Jordan as Cyborg.
I didn't know that until I saw the credits. I was like, whoa, wait. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
100%. Justin Chambers did a great job as Flash. C. Thomas Howell, like The Outsiders. C. Thomas Howell as Reverse Flash or Professor Zoom. Sorry, like that was just really well done. And you can go Kevin Conroy. We talked about.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's a guy. He does some stuff. He like does silly voices. You should look into it. That
was the guy that Ryan Haas put his head on his chest.
Yeah, I got a hug from that guy.
What a moment!
And this guy's done it all. Ryan Haas has done it all.
Someone on the gravestone, like Grant Gustin's making the peace sign. Is like, got a hug from Batman. Got the extended cut of Super Mario Brothers. He had a good life.
Yeah, peacing out, man. That's all I need. I die a happy man. You guys mentioned this. The next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is, it all sounds like we've enjoyed this movie. We all think it was, pretty skillfully made. The title, Justice League, The Flashpoint Paradox. Is this a good title for this movie?
No.
Haas, tell me why or why not.
I mean, the Justice League is in it. So and it's setting up the next movie that has the Justice League in it. I mean, they could have called it The Flash and they probably had the same conversation we're having right now. It's like, well, we don't need to call it Flash because Flash is in the title, so we need to call it Flashpoint. But nobody knows, other than comic fans, what Flashpoint is, and it's got the Justice League members in it, and there's a Justice League in both timelines, so sure. You don't think it's an okay title for as quirky of a thing? I mean, it's interesting that the Flash live action film is going to take elements of Flashpoint, and it had been teased that it would be Flashpoint for a while, but as far as I know, they're just calling it The Flash, which is probably the smart call.
Yeah, everybody knew that the Flash solo movie was likely going to be a riff on Flashpoint, except for the YouTubers who said Wonder Woman 84 was going to be Flashpoint. So, take your L, as the kids say. How about you, Mr. Lauer, what do you think here? Because I think there's some people, as we talk about the upcoming, Flash solo movie, that are kind of like worked up that it's going to be a Flashpoint thing. This feels like you could have a very similar conversation if you wanted to be, like a real geeky upset nerd about it, with the titling of this movie that's based on a Flash comic book storyline but doesn't get titled that way necessarily. Like, it's a weird inverse relationship. What do you think about that whole deal, man?
Well, first of all, I definitely didn't think that the title was, it just didn't need Justice League. It could have been like DC the Flashpoint Paradox or something, because it definitely concerns the entire DC universe. Because I agree with what Haas even said of, like, you would call it the Flashpoint Paradox. Like, you don't need Flash in there twice. You've already got Flash in the title. So what do? It's not Batman, the Flashpoint Paradox either. So it just, I don't know. But as far as like its influence, I mean, we already saw it on the Flash TV series.
Yeah, like that, and that was more upsetting because that was called Flashpoint and didn't do as much as the comics did. But I'm not thinking, or I'm not saying that this is definitely the first, but could Flashpoint be what has helped general audiences the most with the understanding of multiverse? Because I can tell you that, like, my Mira, by watching the Flash TV series, like, that included multiverse and how Flashpoint was the beginning. Like, that was the first episode of season 3. It was even titled Flashpoint. And so it kind of was introductory to her on what the whole multiverse idea. And then if they go back to that well for the Flash movie that they're doing right now, it definitely is a great stepping stone for this what's been for quite a while for comic book nerds, a small, like, this very weird concept, nerdy idea, if you will, that the general audience necessarily hasn't specifically been introduced to, but now it's more familiar. And I think now the time is
maybe so over their head that it hasn't mattered. Like, this is a place where it becomes a narrative device. Like, it has a specific plan. Like, it's a mechanism to do something else.
Yeah.
And to this point, you could sort of have people that are unaware that there's multiverses and different universes and different dimensions or whatever else, because it's just a thing. It's just it's just a way to get away with telling stories that don't have to make sense together. Like, DC, obviously there's Crisis on Infinite Earths. There's all your crises.
Yes.
But Flashpoint, in a way that got the popular attention from the comic book publication standpoint. We're back to the comic books. And then, really you can relate this to what's going on in the films too. Like, the New 52 was a major deal. It got tons of publicity. It wasn't the death of Superman level, but like mainstream news media and mainstream entertainment coverage talked about the New 52. And oh my gosh, Action Comics, they're really going to reset that at issue 1. Can you believe it? Detective Comics? Is this crazy? Like, those stories were written. And so I think it sort of like thrust this multiverse in that you can have a Back to the Future-esque, but, darker and more moms dying than, accidentally kissing your mom, thing that changes the future. Like that, I think to that level, there's probably more general audience awareness, or it was used in a way that you can't just overlook and think, oh yeah, well maybe this just doesn't connect and it doesn't matter to me. Like, no. It connects in a way that's more complicated than you're used to having to think about.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole thing, that the reason we're seeing this now is because now movies are catching up to the mechanics that comic books have been afforded. I mean, yes, it's a mechanic to do and tell interesting stories and alternate things, but really the things that lead to Flashpoint, overall generally is things like having 80 years worth of stories and 80 years worth of continuity, and every time they would need to reset something, things would just get really weird or whatever. But then they want to keep some of the things that worked before, but launch into the future and tell new stories. And so that's why you get things like 2 different Flashes or different Batmans or different eras or whatever.
All the different Hawkmen.
Yeah, and that's why that Crisis was big back in the day, and then Flashpoint is kind of this era's version of that, and then now we have things like Dark Knight's Metal, which do the same thing.
Oh boy.
So now film and superhero movies are like the biggest thing in film right now, and so there have been enough superhero films and enough reboots. I mean, it's only been since 2005, where with Batman Begins, where people really started to even grasp the idea of a reboot. What is a reboot? Why is this not the same Batman as before?
Right.
Which in comic books, it's like, okay, there's a new arc, it's a new creative team, there's a new whatever. It happens, every couple of years. But Batman Begins is like one of the first big mainstream things of like, we're restarting it, and then you get Spider-Man, and then you get all these other things. And so now, we're at the cusp of the whole superhero films embracing that and bringing earlier versions of characters from other continuities into the present continuities from, both the Marvel side and the DC side. So they're being able to use mechanics like Flashpoint to latch onto that and explain
I
these
think
things.
That's the biggest benefit of using Flashpoint, and that'll be I'll hush, is that they can use it as their device to wrap things up and start over again on something, which they did with the comics. Because what did they do with Flashpoint? They used it as, okay, we've set a new place now, and we're kicking off the New 52.
Yep.
The DC animated movies, they used it and then became a continuity of DC animated movies that only wrapped up last year, And now if they're using Flashpoint in
the DCEU.
The DCEU, that we think we know is happening, of multiverse, using the multiverse and such, and because we have the Affleck version of Batman and we've got the Michael Keaton version of Batman. How do you make that work? Flashpoint. Multiverse.
It's your way forward.
That's how you do it. Yes.
It cleans up things that need to be cleaned up, and it allows you to have a fresh start. I think the beauty of Flashpoint is that it actually tells a really good story on its own. It's not just here's simply a gimmick. It's, we're going to tell a good story, and it does an interesting thing along with it. So it's not something you roll your eyes at. It's something you can go along the ride for. And going along the ride for, any bit of storytelling is important. I think for this movie, we talked about the cast. We talked about, the behind the scenes, behind the camera, behind the animation talent of the director and the producer and everything else. But I want to touch on, what are the elements of this movie that really worked for you and made it one of the best to this point of the DC animated movies that had come out? Haas, what was the standout stuff for you when it comes to this animated feature?
The standout things for me absolutely are our Flash and Flashpoint Batman, and Bruce Wayne Batman too. They obviously in this film very smartly anchored the story around the Flash, and you get to see how he interacts with, like, that opening's so good. It sets the stage really well and in really subtle ways, and you don't even kind of know, if you don't know what's about to happen story-wise, where it kind of establishes the Flash and his outlook and his life and the major villains he has and how he interacts with the Justice League. You get a really good status quo wrapped in kind of a cool, like, opening story, and then when the Flashpoint happens, you're kind of invested, because it is kind of a Marty McFly thing where, Flash is in an alternate world and everything's different, but he remembers everything else, and you're invested in it and you want to see him get back. And then you're introduced to these weird alternate versions of heroes like Batman, and seeing that Batman interact with Flash, probably was absolutely the heart of that whole story for me, which was really cool, because it's more appealing to me to see an alternate Batman that has the issues like that than just seeing them then getting to mess up regular Bruce Wayne Batman, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that way you kind of can see the alternate. You can hold up the mirror and stuff, and having that Batman be like, okay, this is like Flashpoint Batman. He's super broken, and his wife turned into the Joker, and he uses guns and stuff. But then at the end of the day, like,
hard drinking.
Hard to drinking. But at the end of the day, he doesn't want to be that Batman. He wants Flash to fix everything, and he doesn't like where he's ended up. So it's kind of like he wants the do-over. So it's really cool, and then to see how it is that classic, like they're enemies, and then until they're friends, and then reluctant friends, and then actually having to have that Batman form a makeshift Justice League out of all these heroes was kind of fun to watch. So that's my biggest thing is their interaction in the film.
You know, I'm with you. I think the progression of Thomas Wayne Batman, who's not my favorite character, I think he's kind of become played out over time, and they're just a bit much. But he works here.
I think he's Pete's favorite character.
Yeah, for sure. Pete's a huge fan.
Yeah, Pete loves
Peter Rivera. I think the character works here, just like he worked in Flashpoint. I think beyond that, it got to be a bit much. But Kevin McKidd, who I'm trying to remember if he was in. My wife used to make me watch these two shows until I just straight up quit. It was either Grey's Anatomy or Private Practice. I think he was a Grey's Anatomy guy, but there's a lot of crossover between those two shows. They're both terrible in my opinion, but whatever. I know they're very, Grey's Anatomy is very popular. I think it's still on the air. He, I thought, did a really nice job as Flashpoint Batman. And at first it had the risk of being, quite one note, but then as the character sort of, Haas, to your point, stepped out of his self-isolation and formed, a team of sorts, and then had this, kind of nice, really kind of beautiful relationship with the Flash. And then, obviously the heartstring moment in any iteration of Flashpoint is the note that gets to go back to Bruce from his father. Like, this is maybe the most I've ever liked Flashpoint Batman comics, original run, the King stuff for Batman, flagship title, like anywhere. I think this is my favorite Thomas Wayne Batman.
I've actually enjoyed his use. I don't know if it's a popular opinion or unpopular opinion. I enjoy what Tom King did with Flashpoint Batman.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I enjoyed that, but by the time that it was done, I definitely felt he needs to go into the archives for a long time. Like,
and you can take the Batman who laughs with you. Like,
yeah, he can. Yeah, like I don't know what else that they could do with him that they like. That was kind of it for me. But I thought he was really effective, and especially that twist in the comic of Batman Night of Vengeance or Flashpoint Night of Vengeance, and how we find out the whole twist of who the Joker is, and that's briefly touched upon in the animated movie. And I really like that. And who knows if we'll get some sort in a Flash movie or not. I highly doubt it, but we don't know.
It seems like it might be a bit much, right? Like that might be a bit too far.
And there's just not enough there for, I don't think that, like, for everybody who watches that movie to see it and be like, oh my God. It'd be like 3 people in the theater being like, holy shit. And everybody else,
they're high-fiving each other, going nuts, and everybody else is like, what's going on?
Sit down, nerds. But you didn't ask me, but
I was going to say, so is that it for you, or is it something else?
The Batman aspects to me I think of Flashpoint Batman when I hear Flashpoint, because the comic was very, like, that worked so well for me. And then I thought the movie, using him in the movie, and the letter, Thomas Wayne Batman sending the letter back to Bruce, like,
that's Goosey's going.
Really good moment. And then they tricked you, and the cave actually dripped one drop of rain on the letter, but made you think that Batman cried. But we know Batman doesn't cry.
Yeah,
it was a drop of blood that fell onto a button that was in the cave.
It was a stalactite where condensation had been coming together.
Stalactite. Wouldn't it have been awesome if he just turned?
That was just guano.
He's like, it shows that drop, and he just looks up, and it's like, the Brave and the Bold Batman. Like
Yeah.
that's he's been changing that
Yeah,
version.
it's switched over. Nice. Or it's the Batman and Robin Adventures redesign. You know, like
The Owen Soul. Oh yeah, the new one.
Yeah. I think I thought it was actually really great. Like looking back on it, it was sort of kind of adorable that Kevin Conroy was willing to sign up for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it is a small part, right? You get a bit in the beginning and a bit in the end. But I think what I really appreciated is his presence there makes it feel like this is our Batman. This is the real Batman. Like there's a weight to his presence.
Yeah, and he got some closure. Yeah,
yeah, and it gives him some closure. It gives a weight and gravity there that just with his presence, even though it's minimal, like I don't know if Conroy was being a good dude and was like, yeah, I'll help you out and make your movie, or if the producer's like, you know, get the checkbook out because this is a place that investing some bucks is going to make sense. Like either way, smart call. Lauer, I wanted to ask you, right on. We all like Batman. Makes sense. It's here.
Yeah.
What do you see? Because there's, you know, obviously, within these animated movies, we've done a couple revisits recently. I think we'll plan to do a couple more over the upcoming months. This is one that obviously has ripple effects. Do you think this was something they had planned out from the get-go that, hey, here's some seeds we're going to plant? Obviously, they knew they were going to go do the newish 52-ish animated movies. But things even like Hell to Pay, do you think all of that, do you think they realized what this movie was going to be for them? Or is this something, in your opinion, more likely developed a bit more organically? Because this gets called back a number of times to these animated movies.
I think that they based it on, they needed a way to start a like connected universe. So that was recent. That worked for them in the comics. It was economically successful in the comics. So they thought,
and this movie too
try this
made a bunch of money.
Yeah. Let's try this. Let's try this with the movie. And they did it really, really well. And they got great mouth, at least the subsections of fandom that I perused over the years, like Flashpoint Paradox is a crowd pleaser and people love it. So I think it worked so well for them that they were like, okay, well let's go back to that. Let's keep referencing that and going back to that well, because it's worked for them. It's about to become played on like their biggest, grandest scope yet in the Flash movie. And then to me, that feels like that's going to be it with Flashpoint, like, because they've kind of maxed out.
It might be the final word in the sentence.
Yeah.
Well, like, and it's going to be
TV, comics, now a live action movie. What else can you do with it?
It's
like,
not.
Choose your own adventure books, like I used to get in third grade.
Maybe there'll be like
Flash to save his mom. Go to page 42. If you
maybe it'll be like a whole like a musical album. Maybe like Meg Thee Stallion will sing a whole album called Flashpoint Paradox. Like, I don't know.
I see what you're saying, Lauer, because it's like it's like if we had another movie of like The Dark Knight Returns or Death of Superman live action, it'd be like kind of redundant at this point.
Yeah.
At least right now in the immediate future. So like if they do Flashpoint with Flash, like you're right, like probably the last major thing like that you would see.
Sort of wrung the last drop out of the rag at this point.
I think so, that it can still seem fresh and new.
Well, but okay, so let's say this though, because there's a reason why we revisited this as it relates to the Flashpoint live action movie. Mm-hmm. Do you believe, and this is kind of what I wanted to wrap up with, is do you believe, because we've seen this in comics, we've seen this in animated movies, we've seen this on TV with season 3 of The Flash, like different iterations, different things that take its, some very direct connection points to the comic and some a little bit more inspired by. Every indication is that this live action movie will be a bit more inspired by, while still sort of having that same narrative mechanism. But like, we're, as far as we know, not going to see Thomas Wayne Batman. We're going to see Michael Keaton Batman, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's going to be enough new elements and more than likely not a hard reboot to the DC cinematic universe or whatever the heck we're supposed to call it now. Like, is that going to keep it, Haas, in your mind, fresh enough that even for us fans that have read the comics, seen the movie, animated movie, seen the TV show, that's not the general audience, but for us, do you have any concerns that it won't be fresh enough?
Oh no, I think it's going to feel incredibly mind-blowing, whether you're a hardcore Flash or DC fan or not. Like, I think, and I don't want to say that they're doing Flashpoint name only, because they really are doing, they're checking off a lot of boxes, because I think the filmmakers have said that it is going to be like trying to stop his mom from getting killed, and you are going to get the multiverse stuff. You are going to get that, and we're probably not going to get Flashpoint Batman, but having the Flash, seeing the Flash's relationship with two different Batmans with two different, different perspectives on their lives as a superhero is a core tenet of Flashpoint, especially the way we saw it. So, like, getting to see that, I mean, that was the stuff that resonated the most with me in the story anyway. So as long as we get that in the Flash movie, then to me, that's Flashpoint. And
I just want to say, like, I agree with everything you just said. That sums it up for me as well. What I would say is, this is a joke, Snyder guys. This is a joke. Don't be mad at me. But, like, we kind of already get Thomas Wayne Batman, Flashpoint Batman with Ben Affleck Batman, drinking the hard alcohol and, oh boy, am I angry, and boom, 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 pew, 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 using my guns.
Trying to get the do-over in the Justice League movie.
Yes,
setting them. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the elements are there. Yeah.
So it would almost be, and this is not being a jerk, this is just calling out where that character is in, the Snyderverse or whatever hashtag you want to use. That was being a little bit of a jerk. It would almost be redundant to have the parallel universe, alternate timeline Batman be that Batman when your main Batman's already. You already got that guy. He's right here. He's doing CrossFit
changed
in the other room. It's fine. He's drinking whiskey with pain pills. He's here. Whatever. Mr. Lauer, final thoughts as we wrap up this discussion on Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox.
I think it's okay.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I'm excited to see how this is influenced the new Flash movie that is currently shooting and being made. I'm a big fan. I think Bill says this a lot on BOF too, of inspired by, not direct.
Yeah, bingo.
Liftings and adaptations, because sometimes that's really hard to do. Sometimes it's done well. The animated Dark
can
Knight
suffocate
Returns.
Things sometimes.
Other times, though, I like it. I don't mind it. I have my critiques for sure. A lot of people hate it. The Killing Joke, it doesn't succeed as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull that. And I think that if they need to patch some things up and head in their own direction for the future, Flashpoint's a good one to pull from. And this animated movie, it took the strengths of the comic book and got rid of like the weaknesses and then just built upon that. And I think it's a very strong movie that you could have years of DC knowledge, or you could be a newcomer and you could watch this movie, and I don't think you'd necessarily be lost.
That's a really good point. There's some things that go, where you have the deep understanding of DC lore is almost a requisite to enjoy, and I don't think this is one that is that way. And I'll say this, like, my kind of concluding thoughts on this, I'm really excited for the live action movie. I really enjoyed this animated version. And I don't buy the criticism when we think about this. Kind of goes back to my question around the title and why that I thought that would be something interesting to talk about. I don't really see the need to you wouldn't have had to call this Justice League. And it is also not like a real shame. You hear this sometimes. Oh, it's just such a shame that the Flash's first live action movie has to be a team up movie or whatever. This Flashpoint is a Flash story. It is a Barry Allen story. It is the emotion. It is the heart of the character. It goes into what makes that character tick. In this, you see the rogues gallery, you see the relationship with his mother. His father's not in this, but obviously that's a big motivating factor in the character. And that's all the Flash. And if you can tell that story about the motivations and emotions and the repercussions of actions when you make them because they're coming from a deep emotional place or trauma or trying to make things right, which that's Barry, and it so happens to involve other characters, like that doesn't make it less of a Flash movie. You didn't need to call this Justice League. I get the Flashpoint thing.
What should they have called Justice Society World War II? They should have called it The Flash Justice Society World War II.
Yeah, totally.
I just watched that a couple weeks ago, and it's like the same thing where it's like it's a dang Flash. I watched
it's a Flash movie.
Like, this is a Flash movie. What are you talking about?
Yes, this is a Flash movie. That Justice Society is a Flash movie, and the Flash live action movie is going to be a Flash movie. It doesn't change anything could happen. My assumption is that it will be a Flash movie because all of these things are Flash. This story is a Flash story. Just because other characters are involved, that doesn't make it less of a Flash movie. Well, we have a cast of characters involved in every one of these episodes, and I always like for you probably, dear listener, know where to find these fellows and get more of their goodness. But, gentlemen, why don't you give us some plugs? Start with you, Ryan Lauer. Where can people find more of you in all of the good things that you do?
Well, Garrett, thank you for having me on to thank for being the key ingredient in this Ryan sandwich. I hope it's filling. You can follow my podcast, The Batman Book Club, on Twitter at the Batman BC for upcoming episodes, new episode drops, sometimes some giveaways. The most recent episode was with our pal Peter R. Vera, as we discussed the Batman comics in May, and actually coming this next Monday, the editor-in-chief, the big man himself, the gumbo guru, Bill Jet Ramey, is going to be on the show as we talk about the Joker's 5-Way Revenge.
He likes that one. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, he loves that one.
That's one
he goes into he gives some good history on his relationship with that story, and it's a good episode. And then coming up soon again, Mr. Garret Grev, and I think Ryan Haas is not too far off in the distance too. So
if he's not in deck, he's in the hole.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's coming. I mean, that's the podcast as far as my posts on BOF proper. I've got reviews on recent comic books. I've got the review on the Lego Batman cowl, the podcast I've been on with Garrett, where we interviewed Lee Bermejo, my one-on-one interview in person pre-pandemic with Lee Bermejo, and my proudest thing ever is a review on the Batwing desk lamp review. I will sing its praises till the day that I die.
Boombox up.
That's right. Boombox. Hashtag Lego Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Booyah.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll turn the microphone over to Ryan. Haas, where can the listeners get more of the sheriff?
The sheriff is shooting over at Twitter at SMB_Ryan. Of course, that SMB stands for the Super Mario Brothers, the movie archive, which is also on Twitter at SMB Movie and SMBmovie.com. If you've got a couple hours to kill and really want to do a deep dive into that new extended Morton Jankel cut of Super Mario Brothers, just go to the website and you can watch it. It is a good time. Do it.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, both for being on. And for all you listeners, you know me, I'd love to keep the conversation going. So follow The Batman on Film at Twitter to get all the latest and greatest news updates from the website. And you'll know what to talk about when you want to reach out to me after you follow me at Garret Wato. That is at GarretWato. If there's anything you'd like to hear about, feel free to drop me an email. You can find me at garret.grev@batmanonfilm.com. That is garret@batman-on-film.com. You can always leave reviews, your podcast provider of choice. It doesn't have to be, just nice, but if you don't use a bunch of harsh language, I'm Minnesotan, we're very polite. I'll read one of those bad boys on air. That could be fun to hear. And, maybe you one day could join us on the other side of the microphone. And when you do, I want you to remember, it's not who you are underneath, but it's what you do that defines you. Thank you for listening.
You have been listening to the official podcast of the one and only Batman on Film website. On Twitter, follow BOF at Batman on Film and the Batman Podcast Network at BatPod Network. For Jet and everyone at Batman on Film, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening to the authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.